Okay, here we
All
are.
right. Okay. All right.
We are
Thanks.
live. All right, well, we'll start over. Good morning, everyone. And it's the Senate Transportation Committee. It's 9 o'clock and it's Friday. And this is the last for a week or better that we'll be on spring break, so to speak. And so we have our agenda this morning, and I think let's see, Friday, today is Friday, and we have Transportation Research Program overview. And I think we have Dr. Emily Parkini, is that correct? Can you hear?
I say Parkini.
Parkini, okay. Well, good
But
morning. and
I
welcome.
can do that if I show my slides and introduce myself. So
Sure, go right ahead.
and,
It's
okay.
all yours. Thank you.
let me share and get to this. Can you see that then?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So my name's Emily Parkini, and I'm the research manager at AOT, and I've been here for 4 years, and I've gotten to present in front of the Senate a couple of times in the 4 years, but I'm eager to meet the new senators and talk about, give an overview of the Transportation Research Program at VTrans, but also emphasize our coordination with external partners. Before I got here 4 years ago, research was part of the materials lab. There was more research staff. There was more field and internal research going on. Now there's me and a research engineer, and there's a greater emphasis on research management. So our time is split between managing our VTrans funded projects, and I'm going to talk about those for a little bit, but then also maximizing our payments that are made to external partners. So like federal highway pooled funds, similar, or like the New England Transportation Consortium. So I'm going to mention that. We also put quite a bit of the research money that we get each year to the National Cooperative Highway Research Program and the Transportation Research Board. And then another thing that we help manage our projects with the University Transportation Center out of University of Maine. So they are looking for matching funds, but we have not, helped them that much, but I'll get into that as we go here. So, and please, ask questions as we go, or I can keep going, or, but this can be conversational. So I'm eager for you to be asking as we go here. So the budget I have, which is, all states have to spend a percentage of what they get from federal highway on research. So that's pretty much what my budget is, that and the parts that have to be matched. So our external research project does have to be matched 20% through the federal funds of 80%. And so we have about $300,000 per year to spend on external projects. And that's out of a budget that's a little bit less than $1.3 million. So for the past 3 years, I think this is the fourth time we've gone through this cycle where we solicit ideas in December. We match the ideas with enthusiastic technical staff that, yes, I want to do this project. Yes, this will help Vermont. The champions then prepare project statements, like a page.
Excuse me, what are the projects we talk about? These are projects.
I have that on the next slide.
Okay,
so,
all right. Okay,
for example,
go ahead. Yep,
but I mean, so I could do give examples of the projects.
Continue on, then we'll wait a question after. Thank you.
Well, no. So, okay. So just to go through the cycle, and then we can do the project or an example projects.
Yeah.
But one-page projects, and I also have the list of we had 6 proposals that we're expecting for this year, and they the projects are all over the place. So that's kind of the fun that there's a big variety. So once we get one-page statements, we send them out to our qualified researcher list. So we've been, like both contract administration and audit has explained, federal money needs to be competitively bid. So and in the past, and like when I first got here 4 years ago, there was kind of money that was designated for University of Vermont. That is no longer. That it now has to be much more competitive. but you'll see, essentially UVM is doing quite a lot of our projects. So, we got letters of interest from 19 different letters, 7 different researchers on our qualified list. And we've gone through, selected the team per project to get a proposal from. We're expecting those in a couple of weeks. And then the bureau directors at VTrans are going to be selecting which projects we go for. So, as I said, so these are like some of the current projects, that started 2 years ago and last year. And, 2 of them are pavement related. The first one is like design and the base of pavements and whether we should put cement in them, whether we should put foamed asphalt. This 21 is asphalt stripping. That's more of a materials question of does the binder that we use, is that make it more prone, in order to extend the performance of the pavement for extreme temperatures, does that then lead to asphalt stripping? So, so we're trying to do lab tests to help mitigate that, I guess. So then this erosion mitigation is super fun that we're looking at all roads, class 3 roads, interstate. And if there's a stormwater gully, can we put mitigation in there? And then what are the impacts in terms of phosphorus and nutrients that, go into the basin? And, so there's all kinds of interest in that. And I will talk about that again. But this top right corner is actually what we call Hive 2. It's a culvert crawler. And what we did is University of Minnesota had a research project of, instead of this multi-$1,000, thing that goes into culverts and inspects them, what if we just get a remote controlled vehicle, put a camera on it, and did that? So we adapted what University of Minnesota had, but it was too tall, this sort of, the big monster truck kind of thing going through the culverts. And so we worked with UVM to select a tank design and run it remotely and put the cameras on it. And so this tank can now go over rocks, can go through the water, power through the water. We're pretty excited. The project actually finished in December or November, and the champion, got the crawler and has already put it through a couple of our culverts to try to inspect them. So a lot of enthusiasm about if it's cheap enough, then we can have each of our districts use these culverts and be able to inspect what's going on. Sorry, use the crawlers. So then, snow and ice performance is something that started last year, and then the bottom right corner is about the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So unfortunately, this is an urban photo, but there are several of these in Vermont, and we, the question is though, are Vermont drivers different? Do we need to think about different behavior? And so so we're looking into comparing or Vermont parts of whether these pedestrian safety measures are working. So a lot of all this is having a technical advisory committee, and all projects have TACs. They all have technical champions I've been mentioning. Research staff is on these, but then we also have staff from different bureaus and divisions. We have staff from other agencies, RPCs. And, I'm a big fan of, there's more participation, there's more guidance on the project and more implementation potential, because that's the goal here, is to have projects that we implement. We don't just put on shelves. So I'm excited that, I mentioned the erosion project. This is one where we have, people from our maintenance or our municipal assistance bureau, people from stormwater maintenance, people from A&R that are helping with the MRGP and other kinds of data and all, but also Chittenden County RPC, Loyal County PC. So there's just, and a consultant then who's, helping us with the nutrient reduction measurement. So There's a lot of interest in these quarterly meetings, a lot of excitement, trying to guide the researchers drives the researchers a little bit crazy, but it's also good that it's showing that there's so much interest in these projects. So yeah, was that a question? I can slow down, but then just to give
I do have a
more
question.
idea.
Yes, Senator
Yeah, go
Berkshire.
ahead.
So is the tax, are they the ones deciding what projects you work on, getting the information from the field and what the problems are, then that's how you decide which projects to research through the
No,
tax?
so the bureau directors are choosing which projects to do. So VTrans had, so my boss is a bureau director of the Policy Planning and Research Bureau. Rail and Aviation are also in PPAID. I'm in the planning side. But then Highway has Operations Bureau, Safety and Traffic, or TSMO, sorry, Safety Bureau and Traffic Management Bureau, sorry. And then, Highway Design, Municipal Assistance used to be a bureau, but they moved it. Asset Management is a bureau, Materials and Construction is a bureau. So they are the choosers, and the champions have to make a 4-minute pitch at the end of March. And so then those are the projects that get selected.
By the bureau. They make a pitch to the bureau chiefs as a group?
To the bureau chiefs, to the bureau directors.
They vote on the top, whatever.
Yeah, depending on how much funding we have, we can, or it's like 2 or 3 projects.
And then they send to the TAC to do the kind of get.
So then the tax help, once the project's selected, it's the people from across the agency and all that help guide the project, and that are really the ones that are, the point to guiding the project is then you're going to be able to use the results.
Right, okay.
So we had a project that ended, sometime last year, and just a month ago we had a TAC meeting of all the UVM folks and I guess a couple consultants about how are we going to use this information and move forward with it. So
Okay, yeah.
And that's exciting. But this is just to give a sort of a variety of what we're looking at this year. Again, I think I only have money for 2 projects, out of these 6. 2 of them are safety related. There's a structures bridge deck one here is the 3rd one. We're getting a lot of attention on using coffee as a metal or to reduce metal corrosion. That's somehow that's jumping out to people. And then we actually had a previous project on using RFID, radio frequency identification, for asset management. So this is, but then we had I think a district maintenance guy say, wait, why can't we use these? And, it would so help us, as we figure out our district assets. So I'm excited about, it'll be a case study if that one is selected. And then wildlife vision collision mapping. Turns out that our traffic crash person was like, oh, who's the champion of that? That's data that I've always been wanting. So there's definitely interest. I'm enthusiastic about the interest across the agency for these. And I'm also trying to show that we're expecting proposals from 4 different organizations. So including, not just University of Vermont, but Cambridge Systematics, University of New Hampshire, University of Massachusetts. So, and yeah, go ahead.
Chair Mazza, may I?
Yes, I can't see you. Go ahead, Senator Chittenden. Yep.
Similar to Senator Pershlick's question, what is an appropriate or inappropriate way for somebody like a state senator to advocate to put something on, at least be considered for a project? I know Senator Pershlick's always talking about toll by plate and fair use assessment. So if that was something that there was of interest to, how would you encourage state senators to have that be part of the discussion?
So we do accept research ideas from anyone in December. So we tried to advertise through, I'll show you, we have a quarterly newsletter. It's on our webpage. It's on my email signature, submit your research idea. And so December 18th is the annual deadline for that. So when we get the ideas in, we then try to match those with, I need a technical champion, somebody in the agency who's like, oh yes, this is really important. I'm going to push this forward. And so that's where the disconnect is. Sometimes we get, a consultant, puts in an idea and says, VTrans should be doing this. And, I'm not able to find, somebody enthusiastic enough to carry it through the process. So that, it's kind of a two-part that you need to get it in the system, but then, figure out who the technical champion would be on the V-Trans side.
I want to find a solution. Instead of salt on our highways, what else can we use?
Right. So that's where, this coffee as, the different agricultural products, as salt reducers. There's, definitely nationwide research and interest in that. I guess it turns out that, even, beet juice or whatever that's been used is sticky and gets on things then, and it's not like the ideal. And then of course cost comes into it. And, but that's why we need research, and that's why we have the partners, because we are in a federal highway pooled fund called Clear Roads, which is, I think, 32 states and organizations doing winter maintenance. So they have projects. We are connected with the other state DOTs. So I know Colorado DOT has a agricultural products for de-icing project. There's other national programs. One of the TRB committees are TRBN and CHRP. There's ways of finding out. So I'm trying to keep my ears open. I think we're all interested, and I know Todd Law, our operations director, is very interested in the best things he can do for winter maintenance. So I was getting into, so we do have a quarterly newsletter. That's, on the right is sort of the flag or masthead of that. That one just went out this week with the projects that we were looking for, or that are, currently in the running. But then, to me, again, it's not research gets put on the shelf. We share these research, we share what's going on, we share our different innovations. So since I've been here, every September, we've had a annual research and innovation symposium. Last year, it was online and virtual. And, the researchers and innovators prepare like fact sheets and posters. Those are all available online. If you look at V-Trans research right now, you will see this icon for the poster symposium, and you can go and look at, actually the posters all 4 years. It's been, it's great because then we can use those write-ups and mention them in the quarterly newsletter and, feature like 4, 5, 6 projects each quarter. So we've had between 20 and 30 posters each of these 4 years. So they're not just research projects, they're innovations. And I'll show you, because it was virtual, or, we've had researchers from other universities present, and that's kind of exciting. So the third bullet is because I saw a Utah DOT project on, we did $3 million of research over X years, and we've getting $338 million in benefits or something as the headline. So it's fun to get the quantitative results, but they also have a qualitative methodology that I'm hoping that we can apply to our projects and do. And so that's kind of the fun about being in a small state, is I can hear good ideas or learn about something and then be able to apply it in our state. So that's I'll get into that a little bit more as we go too. But the other thing, so we do still do some internal projects, some of our research time. So a lot of these are federal highway experimental features, and that's what all these 4 pictures on the bottom of the screen are different. They look similar, but they're actually different substances. The first one is recycled asphalt shingles in a town gravel road. So we're trying to use the recycled product and show that it's going to improve the performance on the roadway. The second one, we've been looking at porous pavement. So the Randolph Park and Ride we have in the parking lot is HMA. You can see on the left for like the regular pavement, and then the porous pavement on the right. So we're trying to look each year on is the porous pavement holding up, and is it still filtering, water, like as a way to incorporate stormwater runoff. The third is actually shredded tires. So we're looking into its tire-derived aggregate and whether that works as a around under drains next to the roadway. So we just, in Londonderry, Chester, we put TDA or shredded tires as around the drains. And we're definitely, I think the photo is our partner from A&R DEC, and he's very interested in, is there runoff from the tires that, it's going to harm water quality or whatever. So we're definitely looking into, sort of the before construction, during construction, post-construction impacts of using the recycled material. And then the picture on the right is stone matrix asphalt. So it's a type of pavement surface that we're hoping is going to be more hardy. Big states like Maryland use this all the time. We do not have it in Vermont, but it is there's national federal highway support in doing this. So we're going to be constructing this road or on I-89 between exits 2 and 3. We're going to be putting a SMA surface on in one direction so that we can compare it with vehicles going the other direction. And we're kind of excited about, are we going to get more performance from the SMA? So just another research thing that we've been, for 20 something years, I think they've been doing pavement life. Research has been responsible for, and we had interns, like UVM undergrads would come every summer and measure the depth of the ruts and draw the cracks for these 100-foot segments on roadways all across the state. So we've been, when I first got here, we had research, my research engineers spent a lot of time, looking at that data. What have we learned over the 20 years of data? And asset management has now they're kind of spearheading the effort to, what if we got like construction data and the design data and the materials tests and all this kind of thing at the beginning of the project, and then compare it to what the network pavement management or, the rutting and the cracks that we get every year or 2 years in the asset management system. Like, can we figure out from the original information if there's performance problems going forward? So, right now we're sort of in the data gathering because we kind of need the roadway to be out there for X number of years to not do well. And then we're going to try to figure out, why the roadway didn't do well. And then another thing, it's kind of fun to say shadowing Cavendish Wethersfield. This is a $18 million paving project in Cavendish Wethersfield. And to make the base of the roadway stronger, we're going to be adding cement, which sounds like, oh, just keep adding cement. But we did this on several projects, I guess 10, 15 years ago. And if you put too much cement in, it cracks with the extreme temperatures, with the frost heave. And so the top of the pavement, it doesn't work well to use too much. So we've put together a performance specification to try to get the right amount of cement in there. And we are hiring, so research is hiring consultant to come and help us, meet that performance spec, during construction this summer. We actually have federal highway money related to the performance spec to do that. And then I've added some of my money for this year so that we can have that. So just as an example, other activity. So now I want to get into, some of our other partners and things that we do with our, with our money. So $100,000 a year does go to the New England Transportation Consortium, which is all 6 states. And it's generally 3 research projects a year. They have webinars, they have symposium, we're interacting, learning from the other states. So this is some example projects that, they've been looking at unmanned aerial systems and different applications across the state DOTs. Vermont does have several integral abutment bridges. We're actually, leading the country in some of the IAV bridges. But there's definitely this interest in, so if you have a curved location and, it has to do with the geometry around the bridge and whether if you can use the bridge as, you can use the like boards or whatever as abutments for your bridge. So there's a project on that. And then there's a connected and automated vehicle legal and regulatory issues project. And because of NETC having a earlier CAV project, the 6 states have been getting together regularly, for 3 years now. And so there's a lot of excitement over, can we regionally figure out some ways to work together for connected and automated vehicles. So then another big thing that comes out of the research budget and that I'm also trying to help us maximize is the National Cooperative Highway Research Program. So I said, how we're spending $300,000 on internal projects. The contribution in FY21 for NCHRP is $420,000. So I'm sorry, $220,000. So a similar amount. And, so all states are voting on 120, 150 projects per year. 60 of them get selected. This year we just got the ballot for 124 projects. And this will be the 3rd year that we're putting it into a SharePoint system, and we're getting votes or, sort of comments like, is this going to be useful to Vermont from staff across the agency? So last year we got like 350 comments, and we got, 350 votes, and from 60 different staff, participated and said whether or not these projects sounded good. So with that, we're, as a small state, they're interested in small state, rural state, so we can get on these panels and help guide the research and say, this is what we need in Vermont. And so these are examples of projects that we have VTrans staff right now helping to guide and work on. So I feel like I'm boring Senator Mazza here. So
Well, that's all right.
okay. So I think I have a few more slides, but definitely ask me more questions.
Senator Mazza.
Yes, go right ahead, Senator Pershing.
Actually, Senator Ingalls, but close enough.
Hi, Senator. I'm sorry.
Is the grading system that you're using, is that the same grading system that VTrans is using to with the 6 criteria and the 8 points and all of that, or is this a different grading system altogether?
That's a good question. So the NCHRP and the ID and the NETC grading system is similar. So because it's, here are potential projects from one of our partners. And I think it's a 1 to 5 scale. So 1, we're not really interested. 5, we could use this, today. 4 is, we think this is really good. And so we've been, we've been definitely sending these out to different subject matter experts across the agency and saying, so are you interested in this project? And in the New England Transportation Consortium case, it's, will you serve on the technical committee if it's selected? And so NCHRP, once we find out which ones are selected, then we can all, you said that this was a 4 or 5, that which should mean that you have the interest in helping to guide this project. So then back to the projects that VTrans is funding and the bureau directors are selecting, it's really kind of based on, what the champion is able to convey, and whether, what would sort of make sense that if multiple bureau directors are interested in a project, there's a better chance of it getting selected. I've been surprised that, some projects that I thought would go to the top, but the champion was not all that organized, or didn't, that we've really selected projects where the champion has made a good story of, this is going to benefit us, this is why we need this project, fund me kind of thing. But I think it's the champions that have been better prepared. We're often taking those projects, not always, because sometimes it's, again, if stormwater maintenance has a vote and the municipal assistance people are then that kind of helps it in the system that there's people across the agency that are interested in the topic. So does that answer? I mean, is that
I think he does, but I just think it's a different grading system, and I would defer to some of my fellow senators if I'm asking that question the right way, or if they're even related. But it just seems like there's two different metrics going on to determine which projects might be taking up. We heard a pretty, not that this one isn't structured neither, but we heard a very structured way that VTrans takes some of their projects up, and I think that this is just a different method, I believe.
Okay, so maybe I didn't understand your question as well, but yeah, to get on this list of 120 projects that we're looking at right now is the same thing, that they've solicited research project statements. People are reviewing those, and is this legitimate? Should we go forward? And then yeah, there is this like voting system, depending on how much funding they have. I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, there's a point system. It was a point system, I believe, that could go all the way up to 100 points. With what we heard yesterday, 20 for safety, 20 for, I can't remember now. I written my notes, but I didn't go down through. But
yeah, so you're talking about the priority that we give to funding capital projects.
I think
Yes.
we're talking about two different things here. One is what would warrant selection for research purposes, and the scoring methodology we heard about yesterday is how we prioritize in a data in a structured way which projects are put on the list for funding. And so I think that's as I was interpreting and looking at what is being stated. I think we're really, one is how do we set priorities, and the other is what are the areas of research that will help inform future practices or whatever. But maybe could you confirm that? Maybe I didn't get it right.
Yeah, no, I think Senator Kitchell, you had it correct. So that what asset management is doing and prioritizing capital projects is different than what we've been using for research projects. It's an interesting, so I haven't put a lot of thought into should we be using the same, I'm not sure what the acronym that goes with the scoring system is, but should we be applying that to research projects? So I will definitely be taking that back and talking to my boss and Director Boomhauer on sort of their thoughts of whether they're similar, and we should be putting more attention on some of the because I mean I think you're right, like safety and resilience. I think we're definitely interested in. But it's not clear that all of the potential research projects, fit, and maybe for capital projects that, I don't know. Thank you.
You answered it, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I will definitely take that back though, because it's an interesting idea. But so this is a national set of projects, national set of things. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can you just tell me what the design guide for rural deviated fixed route transit systems, what that example was, or what's a brief description of that research?
Yeah, so I may not know, but it's an example that Dan Courier, who was at the Central Vermont Planning or PC, but he is now VTrans staff. So he is on that panel. And I think it just started. So I don't really have a great explanation of what it is, except that, it's public transit and rural. And I think the idea is, whether, how to help these agencies decide whether to deviate or not. I just heard a presentation yesterday in Columbus, and they actually have, vans that are, sort of Uber that, in certain neighborhoods will take you, to a transit thing for free from your doorstep, or it'll like it's $3 within a fixed location kind of thing. So,
well, that's what I wondered, if it was similar to the project happening in Montpelier with the micro transit the My Ride program. It sounded similar. So that was my.
I think there are some similarities, and I think that's the point, that they can probably use the Montpelier as an example. And I think Montpelier, it has been, I've seen it in a couple of national presentations, but that's one reason why we have people on these panels then to help share our experience, but also to learn and bring back the national experience to bring back here in Vermont. So that's an awesome example of that. So I think I only have a few more slides here, but so all state DOTs are TRB sponsors. So this is more money that comes out of the federal money that we receive each year. And there's technical committees, there's webinars, there's the annual meeting in January. So this photo is people at the Washington Convention Center, I think 2 years ago. And so it's a great experience to get to go. Last year, 7 staff went and gave presentations, participated in committees. This year, because it was virtual, 80 staff were able to participate. So that was kind of exciting. At least they registered. I think we all are realizing that when it's virtual, we have to get our day jobs done before we can do some of the virtual activities. So, but I'm just trying to illustrate some of the technical committees that VTrans staff are on. So this is another way that we are learning from people across the country. So what was another question? Maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Is that a go ahead? Okay. So this is an example of another partner that we have, is that every region, there's actually 10 DOT regions, have regional university transportation centers. So this year, or I think it's like a 5-year period. It's at University of Maine. Their Advanced Composites Lab director is managing the Transmission Infrastructure Durability Center. So when they came to us and they said, we're going to have UVM as one of our partners, and they said, we're going to do this theme of infrastructure durability. I said, yay, because that's obviously something that we can use here in Vermont. And so it's great. I mean, it's very political, which centers get chosen and who's on the team. But it's great that this one was chosen. UVM is part of it. And so therefore the UVM projects, we do have VTrans technical advisors. And there's a mix of how much the projects are working with the advisors. There's also a active advisory board among all 6 states and the university leads that meets. And then just an example, there's a new project that is using recycled glass as sand borrow. And so this is something that our materials guys are really interested in. We definitely have somebody from ANRDC interested in recycled materials, when they actually are working with Chittenden Solid Waste District because they have the facilities to process the glass into small sand-like pieces. And there's a lot of VTrans interest of, we can't get sand cheaply across the state. So this, using recycled glass may be the right answer if the performance is similar. So the research project is to excuse me, figure out with lab tests whether the performance of the recycled glass sand is going to be similar to what we see on our projects. So we're excited about again, all the different partners and entities working on that project.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Emily, I've heard you say a few times, you mentioned UVM and how you used to have more project go to whatever the case may be. In my other role, my other life, I work at UVM, and I'm curious, do you see ways that UVM could better position themselves, align themselves to serve the research needs of the state? Do you have any advice to communicate to our flagship institution of the state and how we could better serve the local Vermont needs for research in these areas?
Right. So, Dr. Rowengold is on the meeting, and he can, he has a spiel on what the the UVM Transportation Center is doing. But I think that UVM has really positioned themselves well as far as they, their work, they work well with us. Some of these TACs are, it's kind of crazy to have to deal with all these different entities. And so UVM has done a really good job of, trying to appease everybody and do the projects that we're interested in. It's definitely, it's kind of a challenge, that what our technical staff, care about and are able to champion and get enthusiastic about, and how it matches up with the UVM folks. So of our, I think we put 7 projects out. I think UVM had letters of interest on 6 of them. And, and I think from that slide, we've chosen to go with the UVM team on at least 3 of them, kind of thing. So, UVM is definitely attractive and presenting things that work with us, kind of thing. And I mentioned that research evaluation project. We actually have 3 letters from, so 2 from consultants and then UVM, so people are like, wait, can UVM, can they evaluate their own projects? And I think the answer is yes. but it's also, the UVM people, they better understood what what the page was asking for, kind of thing. So I think UVM is definitely doing the right thing as far as getting in our thing. And and it's not just the federal money I have, it's things like this, the University Transportation Centers, they're involved in this one in the region, and Gray may mention they're involved in a national one. He actually presented in a national webinar yesterday related to a national University Transportation Center. And so I think UVM is poised to do what they can on these projects, if that, yeah. So yeah, I think we'll keep talking. So just, I think I only have a couple more slides. I also wanted to say that, we're very active in the Research Activities Committee of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. I'm not sure if other people from AOT have come in and talked to you about AASHTO committees, but this one is all the state DOT research managers. Up to 3 people from each state can be involved. Region, there's 4 AASHTO regions, Region 1. So I actually chair the Region 1 RAC committee. The national chair happens to be at Maine DOT, so it's kind of fun that I have him as a resource and can ask him questions, in the 4 years I've been here. So, as I said, we're a small state. If we hear good ideas and a peer exchange or for mentoring or, and sharing, then we can definitely include those things in our states, or try to incorporate them here in Vermont. So each of the regions hosts the national conference every 4 years. So it was supposed to be in Region 1 last year. So it worked out that Vermont hosted the virtual summer RAC using the state of Vermont Microsoft Teams. And I'm kind of excited. We had 150 people at a time, so like more than that in total over 4 days. And we succeeded with, making the internet work and Teams work from Vermont last July. So this year it's probably going to be virtual again in July, and somebody in North Carolina is leading it up. So I'm excited to step back from putting on a virtual conference. But just to summarize the accomplishments that we've had over the 4 years and over the past year. So, I'm very excited about project champions from across the agency I really think that research shouldn't be what the research manager wants. It should be what, our technical staff want and need and can use. So that's worked out to be a variety of projects, so I've given some examples there. Some of these are directly funded, some are indirectly funded through these bigger consortiums. And then there's even, the others, like from the University Transportation Center program, or if we get additional federal money on some of them. I'm very excited about the annual symposium and being able to share all that. Somebody from Washington State asked me for the fact sheet template that we use. So that was yesterday. So, I think people are getting, how can we share, the innovations and research that we're doing. So we have some good examples here in Vermont that we were able to do the summer meeting last year. And then I feel that I've been, super busy and productive during the pandemic. One of the big advantages is that there's lots of virtual learning opportunities. And so by able, take advantage of the opportunities, learn more about, things related to our research, but also more about, ways to manage the research better and do things better. So I think that's all that I had prepared, but so I don't know if I should stop sharing and we can keep.
See if we have any questions at this time. Any questions or comments? A lot of area was covered.
Yeah. I have one.
Yes, Senator Perchlik.
In the past 2 years, we've heard about the research happening with glass being used. And my memory was that last time it was either you or somebody from AOT was talking about it, that it wasn't looking good, but you mentioned it again. I know up in Chittenden's district, they just kind of dump it over the side of the road, but what's the prospects for actually trying to use it in base material or other uses?
So AOT so far has been trying to concentrate on, making it really small for the sand borrow, which is difficult because it requires, the fancy machines that CSWD has invested in. I think Rutland has wondered, what machines to process glass should we invest in, is my understanding. And I'm not sure what choices they've made. But VTrans, I think, is interested in the really small glass if it's going to be, if the performance is going to be similar. But we are using in Reedsboro Bridge, I guess there's some geotechnical abutments or something where we're going to be using foamed glass aggregate. It's called FGA. It comes from a company outside of Philadelphia. So it has to come up from Pennsylvania, but it's a very lightweight aggregate. And so there's a lot of geotechnical uses of, and I guess even in Quebec, they're using it on the sides of roadways for to shore up the roadway. And there is a company called Glavel that's been trying to get started here in Vermont. And so they've been concentrating on the like rooftop garden and like the housing uses of glass aggregate, but the same material could be used in projects. So we are looking, or I think our geotechnical engineer has decided to use the Reedsboro project and see how it's going to work here in Vermont, and then that would also then help Glavel with a VTrans customer kind of thing. But all of these recycled materials, it is sort of hard as far as, where does it come from? How far does it have to come from? What are the uses, and are the uses going to be, beneficial, or, is it going to have the same performance as other things that we've used? So there is a recycled materials working group, looking at glass and RAS and tires and and even like plastics is a big conversation. Can you put plastic in your roadway? And there's a lot of concern about, again, will it mess with performance kind of thing.
I know at one time the glass in asphalt wasn't working well. It was too sharp with edges, and so I know they did away with that. But it can be used for an undercoating or underneath that for a roadbed. But I don't know how far that's gotten either. But there's a lot of glass that's being ground every day. Yeah. Questions, comments? Anybody? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the overview. Anything else at this time?
I don't think so, but I appreciate the
You've
time.
covered it
and
well.
getting to
Thank you very
talk with
much.
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. Our next is 10 o'clock, so we'll probably take a 10-minute break.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.